right. Good evening out there in the internet land. This is another edition of Grown Folks Business. I am your host, Felton Foushee. Glad to have you guys join us this evening and hopefully enjoy the hour we spend chopping it up about what we're going to chop it up about tonight. Thanks for logging in, Celeste, Arthur, Andre, and Lisa. Greatly appreciate you guys' presence. I see a wave from Celeste and another one from Lisa. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Tonight's topic, the noise of silence. What do you hear when there are no distractions? Um, Hopefully it's good things or things that are getting you ready for some endeavors that you need to embark upon, and there are things you hear that are working towards your success in those endeavors, and not some voices telling you to do some bad things. So I want to make it clear that we're looking for the good side of things. So I hope nobody here has been dealing with anything that's been detrimental to some of the stuff you've been doing in life. So if you are, we'll talk offline. We don't want to put out any bad energy. So everybody that's here, adversity comes, things happen. Celeste just shared a moment ago while we were off air that life is life, and I like that statement, Celeste, and I'm giving you credit for it. Life is life, and it's happening with or without you, and hopefully you're a willful participant and you're making the best of this thing. So tonight again, the noise of silence. What do you hear when there's no distractions? So I'll give this a little bit of a backstory because, of course, as most topics I come up with are they're inspired by something, or it's a thought I'm having and I'm trying to uh, flesh out, and I want to kind of bring it to the sphere of grown folks business and unpack it some. So I'm glad that we get to do that here. But this past weekend, Lisa and I actually participated in a bit of an adventure and spent the weekend at I'll call it a retreat. It's on the western side of North Carolina, not too far west, kind of in between. It's a place called Well of Mercy. Um, Pretty interesting time spent there. They encourage silence. They encourage reflection. There's no TVs. Your phone might not work that well, and you get to kind of spend time with yourself, and you can hang out a little bit and have a good chat. Lisa and I spent some time in a little gazebo, a nice gazebo. It wasn't little; it was very nice with a fireplace in there, and just talked about some things. Talked about life in general. Talked about plans and visions for the future, things of that nature. So a nice break from the action, so to speak. And it did prompt me to think, especially with how much they encourage silence, being within oneself, even if you're in shared spaces. Uh, it made me think about the noise of silence because I definitely was bouncing some things around in my mind about what I'm working on, what I'm hoping to see in the near future, where I think things should go as far as my career in life and relationships, et cetera, et cetera. So there is something in that silence. There is some noise there, and that's what we're going to kind of discuss here this evening. I'll start with Lisa because she was my partner in that exercise, and that'll give you guys some time to unpack your thoughts as to what the prompt is. Julian Gregory, I was just asked about you guys today, so good to see you. Jada Wayne, glad you can make it as well. We have a full house, so I'm always here for the more the merrier. The contributions are great, and I think this topic, this conversation is, I mean, I think it's par for the course for this crowd. So I'm looking forward to hearing some really wonderful things. And I kind of want to also make sure I preface tonight with think of what you're going to contribute as being really helpful to someone else who may not know the value of silence, who may not know that noise can be productive, that exists in that silence. So it can be something that contributes to something greater and better. So the noise of silence. What do you hear when there's no distractions? Lisa, I'll begin with you as I stated, and we'll get around the space. And just know that we got a full house. Don't be quick, but don't be slow, and we'll hear everybody. We'll get some good contributions. Go ahead, Lisa.
Well, thankfully, coming off of our weekend retreat, I am moving a little slower, but I'm trying to be a little intentional. um, what do I hear in the silence? Uh, it's I actually feel the presence of earth more, because moving around all of the time, it's like all the action, 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 without having the stillness of letting the thing kind of flow. So I love swimming. So I swim relatively frequently, and to know when somebody's passing me in a lane, it shifts my my trajectory. Like I've moved over because of my body has moved because of the water. Okay, so somebody else swim in a certain way. So that's what I feel in respect to us this past weekend, actually being able to be still. I have felt things kind of settle, like earth kind of settle, and my spirit kind of settle, and I don't generally have those opportunities, and I am going to be more purposeful. You missed a couple of the little teaching sessions about moving at the speed of love and allowing that to catch up to you. So I know for myself, I've moved all of the time. And as I've said at this space often, I was wrapped up in survival for so long and so much. And I think I was afraid to stop, even subconsciously, because it was so much trauma and drama. It's like I didn't want to feel it. So let me just keep moving. Let me just keep doing something. And maybe I can make that change externally, as well as not wanting to feel what was happening around me internally. So I'm still marinating on it. And as I shared with you yesterday, I'm ready to go back. I wish I could go back every weekend, but I am going to make that unplugging, disconnecting a part of my regular routine. So thank you for this show, Felton.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I did miss a couple of the gatherings they had before we had dinner. It's a pretty nice setup. They got a good itinerary of the things that are necessary for you to, feel nurtured in terms of being fed and some spiritual connectivity. And I slept through some of it. I really rested. I took the time to truly detach and be off to myself. Didn't even stay in the same quarters as Lisa and the friends that she had. I was to myself in another space, but I too got something grounding from that, Lisa, and kind of slowed down a couple things in terms of thoughts and the way that you kind of feel you have to knock out these certain objectives for the day. You can slow it down a little bit, take a little bit more time, and we'll get to one of those questions in that realm, I think. Jay, I'm coming to you next. The noise of silence. What do you hear when there's no distractions? You seem to like the term "moving at the speed of love." So, what are your thoughts on the topic, and what do you hear?
No, I actually am not prepared. Hold on. Can you hear me? Okay. I'm actually not prepared to answer that because I don't like silence. Like I sleep with a white noise machine. Like so I'm like, I don't know. I'm sitting there thinking about that. I don't like um silence only because I don't like intermediate noises. I like a consistent sound. So that's why I keep a white noise on, so it'll be that consistent sound for me. Like not having a consistent sound and dealing with all these weird little noises just causes severe anxiety for me. So I don't know. I don't know what that is. I need to sit there and marinate on that. Like, yeah, I might have to try that and
Yeah.
turn my white noise on right after that.
Interesting. Yeah, I get that. I do know people that love to have some type of music playing or TV on in the background and things of that nature. I am I appreciate silence. I'm someone who appreciates silence. I appreciate maybe at the place we were at there was a creek running through the backyard that if you paid enough attention to, you could hear pretty well. But man, I can do silence. I'm fully aware of people that suffer from your condition, Jay. I'm sorry that you can't
Yeah, I
enjoy.
can't do television, like like television, radio, all that. I just need a consistent noise.
Hmm.
That's why I like a white noise. It has to be constant, not that other stuff. Yeah,
What about water? Does that
yeah,
kind of?
that's one of my sounds. I can do water, constant water.
Mm-hmm.
Now drips annoy me, but a flowing stream, I'm fine.
Gotcha. Well, I appreciate you being someone different right now. So maybe somebody else has the same notion. Celeste, what about you? The noise of silence. What do you hear when there's no distractions?
When I hear silence, I hear my thoughts. Um, Usually, like I haven't had any like bad thoughts that scare me, but I think of happy things. I think of things I need to do. I do have a little bit of anxiety, so I'll think about things that probably aren't going to happen, but that I have to be prepared for. Um, when I hear silence, though, usually I hear peace. Like I drive in silence sometimes. I don't cook in silence because if you cook in silence, the food don't taste good. Okay, Aretha got to hit that high note when you throwing down that little Cajun seasoning, so that way you know it's right. My mama don't cook with music. I'm the better cook. Um, yes, Jay Way, you heard that. You heard that. I felt no, my mama doesn't cook, y'all. She doesn't. Whenever my dad wants a hot meal, he likes Celeste. You want to get on the stove? My mama made casserole, spaghetti, and baked chicken. Those are her meals. But as she says, I got my husband and my husband happy, so that's all that matters.
So the music, the secret ingredient. I got you.
So for me, I just hear peace. And of course, when I hang out in silence, this little guy, he comes and he hangs out with me. So I'm one of them people my dog can ask to borrow my car. And yes, y'all, I'm one of them black folks. My dog gets on the couch. As long as he don't get in the sheets, he can get on top of the bed. Yeah, I'm one of them.
Appreciate that. And yeah, what is your dog's name, Celeste?
His name is Charlie.
Okay. Kept it clean and simple. I dig it. Arthur, if you got a moment to chime in, the noise of silence. What do you hear when there's no distractions?
Well, that's when I get into my deepest focus. I've been in some places, unfortunately, where silence allowed you to get into a different place of survival, so to speak, and it became one of my friends. Nowadays, because I'm so used to it, I gotta learn to not be used to it as much as I am. But because I'm such a critical, intense thinker, a lot of times when I'm like silence is around me, I can get most of my work done. In college, I only could get my papers done 2, 3 in the morning. Like then I focus and then I get some real stuff done. So in my opinion, silence is a friend of mine, but it can be a dangerous friend if you don't know how to channel, center it, and use it wisely.
Agreed. I think my muse comes to me in those silent moments. I don't have to look very hard when there's enough quiet around me. I get some motivation from that elusive muse that we have to get something accomplished, get something done. So I agree, and I also agree that it can be detrimental. It can be something that can evoke things that are not positive. But as we said at the top of the show, we're here for the good side of things. But I appreciate you sharing that, Arthur. Julian Gregory, great to see you first and foremost, and I know you both should have some interesting takes on this. The noise of silence. What do you hear when there's no distractions?
I'm going to go first for change. And we could not be more different, the two of us, in that regard. She loves to have the radio and the TV going, both of them at the same time. And she's probably got a podcast going on as well. And I'm like you, Felton. That silence, I crave that. I remember a trip that we made to Crater Lake National Park, and I hope everyone gets an opportunity to travel to some of our national parks. But Crater Lake, I was sitting up on a rock overlooking the lake part, and it was in the early evening. It didn't have to be early evening there, I don't think. The silence was like a life form. It was like an entity. It was like I can't. It was like I was in touch with something that was alive, but it was alive in the silence. It was amazing. And Lisa, I really identified with your spiritual um, perspective on silence and what takes the place of the outside noise when we go internally. So I really appreciate your thoughts there. One more aspect maybe to silence is also order. I like order in the physical environment. I do some painting, as you know, Felton. I do some artwork, and most of the time, before I can sit down in the studio and paint, I've got to vacuum. I've got to wipe the surfaces down. I've got to dust, and then I can sit down and get creative. So that's kind of the silence thing too. Thank you for this opportunity.
Well, I love what Lisa shared about moving at the speed of love, and that is just beautiful. I recognize the value of silence, and there's a thought that the soul can't tolerate noise; it can't come through. So the muse, the soul, whatever, cannot come through when there's noise. So I do walk real early in the morning, 5:30 or 6, and during that time, I have to make myself not listen to podcasts or not put in the earbuds. And it's a beautiful time. I come up with creative ideas, solutions. So I really see the value. But being a Gemini, probably, I have this push pull that I love activity. And so when I'm cooking, I love to have music, or I love to be listening to a podcast, or dancing, or doing. I love Gregory's perspective on silence. And I'm working on even not turning on the TV in the morning. First, there's no good news, but I see the value of more silence, and I'm so appreciative of this topic, and I'm working towards that. When I grow up, I'm going to be more quiet.
It's okay. It's okay. I think we just do what gives us some modicum of joy for the most part, and for some, it's not being quiet. And for me, as I was told, I couldn't. Why are you going somewhere? You got to be quiet. You like to talk too much, and it's not that I like to talk too much. It's literally, this is a part of my purpose, right? This is a part of just what I do and what I contribute. Lisa, did I mind being quiet? I don't think I did. I think I.
No, and if I didn't know and love Felton so much, I would have got a tad bit offended, because it was four of us. So him and two other really important people celebrating my birthday with me at this peaceful place. And we had a whole cabin, a whole building that we had to ourselves, and they had another room with your bathroom and everything. He was like, yeah, no, I don't want to be in here with them. And he went to a whole nother building. But because I know him and I love him, to know him is to love him. And he was quiet, and he was like, nope, he really got into it. So it was really cool.
Yeah. Thanks for that backup there, because the next question is actually indicative of why I made sure to be intentional about that space being utilized as it's promoted, and that's unplugging and really, shutting down things that are those distractions that we mentioned, or just detaching for a moment. May not be distractions you're detaching from. It might be just things that you need to just kind of step back and get a little distance from. So the next question is, when do you know you need to unplug, and what do you need most for your recharge? So I knew I needed to unplug. And this kind of came together last minute, and I was able to go and et cetera, et cetera. But I know I needed to unplug. I just did. It was time to kind of just detach and unplug. So what I needed, and things that I know I need in that circumstances, are nature, water. Lisa mentioned water, and I mean immerse. I mean sit in the tub, like really, like be close to the water. I like a long hot shower. There's nothing wrong with that, but there's nothing like immersing yourself as much as you can. I'm kind of tall, so most tubs don't suit me, but I'll sit and sink in as much as I can. So water does something for me. New ideas, however they're received, whether it's through listening, reading, observing, that's a part of how I unplug, actually. So again, I talked about Lisa and I sitting in that huge gazebo and having a conversation, and one of her other friends was there with us for a while. The exchange, the communication, that's great, but the sharing of new ideas and new information and new approaches to things, all of that stuff is valuable to me in my recharge. So I'll start with you, Jay. When do you know you need to unplug, and what do you need most for your recharge?
Oh, no, a lot of things that you said are spot on with kind of how I am. I'm intentional about self-care. I have to create something every day. If I go a day without creating something, a graphic, poem, something, if I'm not creating something, um, it frustrates me. And I found that I'm most frustrated when I haven't created. So I'm intentional to do that. So every day I have to. And I'm not a people person as much as people think I am. Like, I'm like, let me go, let me do this, and I'm done and I'm out. So when I've peopled too much, I always carve out time to retreat. Like I just did a presentation today with the Department of Public Instruction. That was enough peopling for me. So that 30-minute ride home, it was in silence. And I thought about that, like it was in silence, but it was the vibration of the car that was constant for me. And I tune in to those things, and that's what kind of helps me, because I rarely watch television unless it's something Marvel coming out that's new. I watch Marvel. That's the only thing that I watch. So when people ask me, did you see? No, I didn't. And when I messed around and saw Avatar 2, I lost 8 years of my life. So I try my best to be intentional about retreating every day.
Avatar gave me some of the best sleep of my most recent moments in life, because I tried, man. And
it took me 2 days to watch it.
I don't know how you made it in 2 days. That's a long movie.
I got commitment issues. I try to stay committed.
Oh yeah, I got you. Sometimes you got to finish it no matter what. I dig it.
Mm-hmm. And
that was one I don't have to. Look, man, when you put me to that type of sleep, I'm scared to watch it again. I might not wake up. It was such a deep sleep, man. Arthur, coming to you next, man. When do you know it's time to unplug, and what's your recharge? What do you do to recharge?
I take a day every week because all the things I get involved in, and my new job, is a lot of stuff. And I'm a mentor just by nature. I coach basketball teams on the weekend, so oh goodness. But what I love to do when I know when this getaway is when I start getting that. I'm too an anxiety sufferer, so my triggers or the little things when I'm overexerting myself, using too much, I'll feel that little tingle coming right to the side of my face, and I know what that means. So my relaxation is a Vincent Price scary movie. So every Saturday night, I get on my couch. My wife allows me to. I sleep on the couch, and I'll put on some macabre, scary movie, Christopher Lee, Vincent. It doesn't matter, as long as it's an old school movie, and I fall asleep watching that. And that's almost every Saturday for years now.
Man, that's great. That's so last week I mentioned this, and this is in the realm of that discussion, or that comment I made last week about joy, because we were talking about what it means to be an American and what have you. But I was speaking about the time we spend here in this space, and how that's a part of something joyous for me. So this topic tonight is kind of in that realm of how do you kind of satiate yourself? How do you just find somewhere to just be like, okay, it's time to to shut down and shut off and disconnect. And we're so busy now. We are accessible 24 hours a day because of cell phones and emails and et cetera, et cetera. When does the TV cut off? When does the shutdown happen? And man, that's great to be intentional with something that brings you some pleasure and joy. I mean, if watching those type movies gets you there, that's great, man. That's good to know what gets you to a place that is meaningful for where you encountering where you've been the whole week or whatever. So that's great to hear. I'm coming to you, Andre. If you're able to talk, I know you're traveling, so if you can unmic.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you well, man. So really quickly, man, the noise of silence. What do you hear when there's no distractions?
So that's deep. I listened to something everybody said. So here's what I would say. Um, when there's no distractions, it's noisy to me, and the reason why it's noisy is when there's no distractions and I'm just focused on me. There's a lot going on there. There's a lot of positive things overwhelmingly, but also a lot of sad things. Everybody goes through their journeys, and similar to something Lisa said earlier, I think I keep myself so busy and occupied to not run away from those things, but the distraction. Yes, I know it's unhealthy technically, but it's also it got me through so much. So when there's no outside distractions, it's actually very noisy to me. And actually, I've been working on a book, and literally the first chapter, first or second paragraph in the book I've been writing talks about how silence is for me so noisy. It's so much stuff. But it gets me through. I don't know where I would be without that noise and that reflection that I get from the few hours a day that I can sit down and just do me, if you will. I don't know.
Yeah, I got you. Silence has, I think, a different functionality for all of us. It's not the same for everyone. So I think you and Jay are kind of similar, and there's something there that you kind of want to disrupt, even if it's with the steady sound of something else. I get that. I don't not understand that position. Real quick, also, Andre, before I lose you from traveling. When do you know you need to unplug, and what are your tools for recharging?
So recently, to be honest, I realized that it's been decades, to be honest. I can't remember when I consistently got 6 to 8 hours sleep. Um, it's just sleep is just something I don't do. So maybe around a year or so ago, when I had my annual physical, my doctor said, you really got to do something about that. You're gonna end up leaving sooner than you need to. So what I did for the first time in my life, I took up guitar lessons since I moved to Greensboro. So around 6 months ago, I started taking up the guitar. I'm working on my book. I'm going to the gym. But these are all things I started since I've been in Greensboro. And since I've met a lot of wonderful people like you guys, since I've been here, I've been trying to find things unplugged. Because I'll be honest with you, truth of the matter is I have not done a very good job at that. I've not done a great job of taking care of Andre mentally or physically. I just haven't, and I need to do a better job at that. So I'm working on it. That's a work in progress for me.
Awesome, good response, and welcome to Greensboro. I'm glad you could find some things to give you some respite here, some ability to unplug. Lisa, coming to you next. When do you know you need to unplug, and what are your tools to recharge?
So, as I've mentioned over the last few years on this show, I'm in transition. I'm trying to learn some healthier things, and I have not done it, especially. And I'm consistently trying to teach myself to do it. So even celebrating my birthday with some of my friends who I could trust to respect that space, it was intentional. We made the arrangements, other than you, we made the arrangements back in April. And that's new for me because I've only ever been on one vacation in my life as an adult. But when you're constantly in survival mode, and that's what you're used to, especially after 40 something or 50 years, and you don't know what you don't know, the adjustment, it feels weird. So even people who have great intentions, they'll say, oh, you need to sit down, you need to rest. But in the life that I've been given, I've had a tremendous amount of responsibilities that I accepted and I can't just watch the responsibilities fail. But now to Jay Dwayne's point, understanding self-care, I'm even having to literally look up the definition of that, because for me, I can't just disconnect when I've had 5 kids to raise and then my kids may go out and get wrapped up in something. I'm not capable of that, because I wouldn't have a restful mind, because I would be thinking about the collateral damage after the fact. But now that I have retired from active duty motherhood, this was the first trip the phone thing was not an issue, right? Because my daughter, my last child is 18, and I'm not legally responsible for her. Morally, she's still in my heart, but I know that I did not have to stop my life. But that was the choice I made for 32 years. I would stop living to tend to my kids. So just like Andre, I'm learning how to take care of this individual Lisa without the guilty feelings, or without the responsible feelings that I've had for all of my life, even in childhood, as most of you know. So the thing is, I'm forcing myself to do it. It felt absolutely tremendous this weekend, but I'm having to force myself to accept that. And it does feel weird, but it felt good on top of it. Like, my daughter was fine when I make sure you talk to your brothers, 911, she got a driver's license, all that other stuff. So thank you again for being part of that. And again, your show, I just love your show, because it's also been a part of my healthy journey. Welcome, Andre. Keep coming every Thursday, because it'll help you get real healthy too, bro.
Gosh, that was I mean, you turn a different road or street right there at the end, and it disrupted what I was gonna say, because it made my heart flutter a little bit. I appreciate that, Lisa. That means a lot. And yeah, I think I'm gonna take up guitar lessons and maybe go swimming. This is what I mean about tonight. Like, share some stuff that gives other people ideas about how to really do that. Hey, Arthur, I was getting ready to say sit on the couch and watch some Vincent Price movies too, but I see you got the guitar, so both and I guess that's what's up. Yeah, do something that you hadn't done before. Try something different. Disrupt your narrative. I think that's very important to kind of not just challenge yourself. I'm not saying go learn how to play like Chuck Berry, but pick it up and try it out, or watch a movie you wouldn't otherwise watch. I think it's good to step outside of yourself sometimes and do something slightly different. Celeste, I'm coming to you. When do you know you need to unplug, and what are your methods?
When I know I need to unplug when the room is spinning, but I'm standing still. I'm a politico. I do politics. I write research methods for political candidates. I like what today the affirmative action case came down. I knew that ruling. I knew how it was going to go. I was expecting Clarence to write the opinion, just because people love a little spice. I I've chosen such a chaotic life, and then I chose to go to law school on top of that. I ain't that smart. And then while in law school, while I'm struggling to get through 1L, not great at legal writing, trying to figure that out, understanding all the material but can't put it on paper correctly, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go get a PhD in political science when I'm done. So the School of Government across the street, I'll see y'all. Committed to it and everything. And then I committed to $450,000 worth of debt with that too. Yeah, y'all, Celeste, you see why the room be spinning sometimes even though I'm standing still? Yeah, that's what's wrong with me. I know it's time to unplug when I want to be with my family. And I'm one of those people, my family isn't necessarily the people I was born and raised around. Like, I have Adrian and Justin, these two amazing friends. They're a married couple, and they're my family. Like, Adrian and Justin go on a date. I want to keep my kids. They have 2 daughters, but they're their kids, but they're my kids. Auntie Celeste is the fun. They're my kids. And Justin and Adrian, I know they're going to talk that stuff. My mom and dad met them in person finally at my 25th birthday party like 6 weeks ago. Whenever I do something that my mama just sick of me about now, go talk to Justin. My dad, whenever I say something out of pocket and he's like, I ain't even trying to deal with that, go call Adrian. When they say go call both of them together, there's a group chat with the 3 of us. Justin only responds. I know Adrian be sitting there looking at her phone like, Justin, get her. But that's my family. Like, I spend every weekend with my mom and dad. They're the reason that I canceled the whole move to DC thing. I'll commute in and out of DC as necessary. I love my parents. My parents are also getting older. They're what, 65 and 66. And my dad, he unpleasantly reminds me, he was like, we're not gonna be here forever. And I'm like, Daddy, stop talking about that. Hush, shut up. Shh, don't talk. That recharges me. My best friend, I call her my sister. She is my sister. My dad calls her his baby. He thought a boy was making her cry when we were freshmen in college, and we thought the boy was going over a balcony. It was serious. It was deep. He wasn't even making her cry. She had allergies. Girl, blood couldn't make us any closer. Being with my friends, being with my family, my best friend, me and him, we are not on the same page a lot of times. My best friend is a 6'6" white man with blonde hair and blue eyes. I'm a black woman. I'm 5'8". Stuff don't be clicking sometimes between us. A lot of times between us. There's definitely been us yelling in the friendly parking lot because he said something stupid and I was ready to fight him. But he's my best friend. I love him. If I were to restart life all over again, one of the first things I do is go find him. So these people recharge me. Doing things like this recharges me. Like I just love the socialization. For me to love being by myself, you all, the friendship, the camaraderie, the last Jay Dwayne on my social media pages, being crazy. Like it just, and going to dinner with Felton and him, y'all, Felton be making me mad. I be ready to go get the thick leather belt. I be ready. Felton do it to me. He do it to me. And I just love the camaraderie. Lisa, her smile when she starts cracking jokes, and she knows my goddad. Whenever she starts talking about Big Steve, I'm like, that's my baby. I love him. And Miss Liz, like those things, just they mean the world to me. They're things that you can't replace, and I value them. I value them.
I love it, and that's a place that I definitely wanted to touch on, but you grabbed it, and I appreciate it. It's important to have that camaraderie. I recharge from that also. I seek out certain people that give me some kind of reflective energy that is needed. I seek that out too, Celeste, and I think it is important and is critical to kind of recalibrating this thing. Sometimes it is the unplug. Sometimes that's the unplug. Go ahead.
Felton, you seen Lisa? She agreed with me when I said sometimes you got to get that thick leather belt. We be ready.
This is like 3 weeks in a row you've been threatening me. I don't know what it's about. It ain't nothing but love here. It's all love.
It's all love. We got to go do a group activity though.
Oh, we got plans. We're gonna figure something out, especially when the fall get here and the time works out. Maybe not necessarily the fall, maybe right before we get back into our academic calendars. So we'll figure it out, Celeste, and we'll hopefully really just have a blast, laugh and fuss and all that good stuff. I look forward to it. Julia and Greg, so I hope that you guys have some valuable contributions. I know you do. There's no hope involved. I know you do. Unplugging. What's your tools and methods, and when do you know it needs to happen?
Can I say something first about what we just heard from Celeste? What I heard from her was joy and the value of joy. And if we can find a joyful place, that is a quiet place. That is a place without noise. And it sounds to me like Celeste finds a joyful place, even if it's just for a few moments. I identify with not being sleeping 6-8 hours a night. I haven't seen that in years. And I know that's not healthy, but it's just the way it is. And so we settle in and we accept our changes in the physical body. And like Celeste, we find the joy in those parts of our lives where it feeds us. It allows us to live a more full life because we have let go of the noise. We found that silent place of joy, and I believe Celeste has found that place. It's what I aspire to.
Greg, if I might interrupt briefly, and it's only because I invoked you in a way, I think it was last week or the week before, because we were discussing something around the show, and it might have been that joy comment. I'm not certain. We have to go back and look. But I
Yeah.
said somebody asked at one point what this show was for, what it was about, why we here, all of that good stuff on Grown Folks Business, and it was you. I don't know if you remember making that comment. And my
Okay.
response, yeah, my response then, and I say it now because you're saying what that response is for others. It's to really express and share, what you do, what thing it is that gives you some pleasure, joy, what have you. And you're unpacking Celeste's comment so well. That's for somebody else, and that's why we're here. So I wanted to make sure I got that back out there to you because it was in my mind, and you're here tonight. So thanks,
Okay.
man.
Bless you, Felton. Thank you.
Yeah, this is such a great topic, and I have some great mentors and people that I've been around, and this is something that has helped me some. A friend of mine recently went to Alaska, and she was learning to work. She had an idea about working with indigenous people, and the Judeo-Christian thing doesn't work for the native Alaskans. So she's very inclusive, and so she talked to some elders, and she got their opinion. But what she did was, instead of trying to see as many elders and do as much as she could in a relatively short time, she said, I just needed to make sure to have a couple of hours of silence every day so I could digest and assimilate what's been said. And that just really struck me. I thought, that is a good way to live, instead of always being like Lisa. I check off boxes. I have my list, and I got to do this. Um, but I think that's also a path to joy. Where do we find meaning? Where do we get our purpose? Uh, where is our joy? And I love what J. Dwayne wrote. There's joy in the valley, and as bright as the morning star. Amen. I got it. And we'd love to hear the tambourine. We love you all.
Julia,
Thank you
I
so
grew
much.
up AME and Baptist. Don't play with me. I always got that tambourine. My mama tambourine.
Don't you hit that tambourine on this show? That's gonna mess up the audibles. But anyway, now, hey, thanks for reading that, Julia. That's exactly what needed to be said right there. And I appreciate you guys throwing some things up in the chat. Um, hey, Tara, glad you could chime in. I appreciate people that make my inner child happy. We cannot adult all day and remain healthy. Absolutely. Another thing I was going to mention in regards to what Celeste was discussing. Uh, I love my goddaughter. I love all the goddaughters I have, and all the godchildren, all the kids I mentor, etc. But sometimes that time spent with them is more so for yourself. You're not just taking care of the kid that needs to be watched, or trying to go have fun with them for their birthday. It's really about you. Sometimes you got to get some of that youthful energy. You got to let them share it with you. And sometimes they rob you of your energy, and you got to go recalibrate. Jay Dwayne, kids, sometimes they're the biggest people that take something from you in terms of energy, but it's all worth it. It really is. And I definitely agree. We can't adult all the time. You gotta step back from that. I'm going to come around the space and ask this question. It might be one that's a little bit thought provoking. It might take you a moment to unpack it, but it's okay. I'm looking at Arthur right now because he busy and he sharing time with us. So I'm gonna ask you, Arthur, do you control the clock, or does the clock control you?
Ooh, that's a good one. I try to not live in the realm of time because we never got enough. Like the individuals we have here, who all know, we always up against it because there's always something that needs to be done once you unconditionally committed to things like mentoring, community service, taking the mantle of responsibility. So time is of essence, and time is something that we shouldn't rush through because we all on borrowed. So I try to just take it as it comes. I have like that Stevie Wonder clock. I don't see it sometimes. I just, my son now, he starts to look at the light. So he started telling me he knows when it's time to go to bed. He'll say, well, Papa, oh, okay, time to go to bed. There's no light outside. So that's when I know it's time to start, wrapping some things up. But I just try to use it as it comes, Felton. I don't, I value it more now that I'm getting a little bit closer to 50. And I dread the day that I lose it. So I use it constructively. But at the same time, it can be I'll use it as an ally instead of just looking at it as whether it puts me in a panic. But, just use it constructively, I guess.
Good answer. And I like to think to myself, there's a minute coming after the next minute. And if you don't get to where you want to be in this minute here, just know that there's more coming, and don't beat yourself up for missing a deadline or for elongating something that you could get done a little quicker, because there's probably something else you accomplished. We don't think about that sometimes. There's probably something else that you did get done and you did manage to accomplish, even though it wasn't the thing that gives you that satisfaction. Something was done in there. Celeste, coming to you. Do you control the clock, or does the clock control you?
I want to say I control the clock and have that arrogance, but I'm going to say it goes both ways. There are some parts of life where I let the clock win because I'm like, time needs to go fast. I don't want to be here. Them last 2 hours when you working, you don't want to be there. When I'm sitting in a meeting about a brief that I wrote that I know is correct, and now I got to sit up here and explain it 3 times over and over while people ask me the same questions. I want the clock to win. But then there are times where I really want to control the clock, when I'm with my friends, when I'm with my family, when I'm watching a good movie. I would say that the clock seems to dominate the times that I want to last forever. And I can't even say I control the times when the clock wins, but sometimes there's a feeling where I win too. Like my niece's birthday. The time went by so fast, but I controlled the clock that day because I took advantage of every minute that I had. But the reality is, as an adult, the clock is winning, because when you want it to go as fast as you want it to go, that thing is going as slow as the day is long. But when you really want that clock to slow down so you can savor every moment of it, you look up and it's zooming. We control the time that we spend on the clock and the minutes and how we absorb them and what we do with them, because we all know a minute lasts 60 seconds. But the clock controls itself. We just kind of go with it. We just have to savor the moments and the time that we have.
Back to that joy thing you mentioned, or that Gregory extracted from what you were mentioning earlier. This is a part of my joy. I said that, I think, last week, and it goes by fast. As the person who is facilitating and making sure that I get around the room and to everyone, and also looking at the clock and seeing what question I really want to get out there, man, this thing flies by. I'm not, I kid you guys not. And I think it's in the realm of what Celeste's saying. It's a time that is worthy of my attention, and I desire this every week. I look forward to chopping it up with whoever shows up in this space. It's always worth my while, and it goes by really fast because we're almost done now. So coming to you, Julia and Gregory, do you control the clock, or does the clock control you?
That's such a great question. When it comes to being responsible to make meetings on time, to conduct business on time, where it affects other people, impacts other people, I think that is definitely on my mind. When it can be free flowing, when I can set my own schedule, time may disappear a little bit. An artist will often talk about going into the zone, and you may experience the same thing, Felton, out on the golf course, where time changes. The nature of time and the effect it has on us changes a little bit. So as an artist, I may work for 3 hours and not realize it's been 3 hours. So that being said, time is a funny thing. It's a master and it can be a servant.
Well said. And I think there's different elements of time for any of us that have been like with a friend in a hospital and spent the night. You know, time has such a different dimension. Um, and then we took part of this something called dialogue, where we had to wait 10 seconds before somebody said something. Then we had to wait 10 seconds before we spoke. And that was so interesting. And then 10 seconds seemed like a long time to wait, but it was so helpful to help us absorb what they were saying, to be more intentional. It was really beautiful. That's not really answering your question, but it's very thought provoking. Thank you, Felton.
No, I think that is a good response if it's not an answer, because you're doing something with that 10 seconds you're waiting. It's not something like, oh, I'm twiddling my thumb. You're actually doing something with that 10 seconds. And I think that is kind of putting a focus on how time works. It's going, it's ticking, it's talking without you, with you, however you think this thing. And if you're taking a moment to really process an important interaction in that 10 seconds, if it really is intentional to wait to respond, you don't know what benefits you might get from that time you intentionally recognize to wait. So yeah, that's kind of controlling the clock right there, Julie.
Agree, Felton. Good.
Yeah. I'm gonna save Jay for last. He's cleanup tonight. So I'm gonna say, Lisa, do you control the clock, or does the clock control you?
Well, so I'm going to agree with Celeste a lot. It's twofold, right? At this stage of my life, I'm trying to control the clock more. So I do have things that I will schedule, and even within that, I'm preparing myself mentally, physically, emotionally for what's to come. So I'm still controlling the dynamic of the time, but I'm not slave to it anymore. So even if something gets interrupted, it's not disruptive. And then especially being a middle-aged woman, a lot of times that is traumatizing, especially when we think we're cute, which I do. Um, but I still own it and feel like I heard Steve Harvey say, "Old is the goal." Right. And as the clock keeps ticking, the years keep turning, I'm looking at the wisdom that I'm gaining versus the changes that are happening physically. There's some things happening in the cranium that are more valuable than the deterioration of the external cellular pieces. So I think, and I've had no issue saying, hey, I turned 52, but I still think I'm cute. And not 52 cute, just cute. So I thank you, Jay Dwayne and Celeste. I see you. So I'm with Celeste. It's both, but we have to make sure we're not slave to it. Like it is going to just keep on going, but to keep that joy that we keep talking about, that joy and that peace. And that's what I'm a consumer of right now. So no matter what happens, the time is going to keep going. And if I need to adjust something to not let the clock run me. So even I spoke about swimming and some things I do for healthiness and wholeness. I don't use an alarm clock. And if my body does not wake up at 4:50 for me to get to the Y at 6, then it just is. I'm going to be okay with it. But most of the time it does, because I'm thinking that my body has made a decision. And for my trouble sleepers, like I religiously take my magnesium. It's changed a lot of things for my life, but I'm allowing this vessel to be the determinant of the choices that I make for healthiness and wholeness inside and out.
Agreed. You were mentioning something about the calendar or scheduling stuff, etc. Yeah, I've become someone who I have to have it on my calendar. And that was never something I thought I would become adherent to. But you and I were having a discussion about trying to meet up, I think yesterday or the day before, and it was kind of enjoyable to try to figure it out. And then, you know, we both had stuff going on and it was okay. It wasn't like, well, why you, it was understood that you got this going on, I got that going on, and we'll figure it out. And there's no hard feelings. We'll get it together. So I think that's a bit of that 50-50 that Celeste was talking about that you agree about. Sometimes the clock does control you, but you know, you can always reschedule if you have to, or you can make it work when you need to. Jay Dwayne, you got the final comment before we get out of here this evening. Does the clock control you, or do you control the clock?
I kind of go with Arthur's sentiment. I look at it as a friend, an ally, someone that we share this space with, because time, in my opinion, is nothing more than an allotment that we have been given in the continuum of eternity. And so for me, like saying that, does it control it? I think that we together are accountable to one another. And I don't believe in wasting my time. I believe that my time is valuable. And I believe that, you know, because time is a gift to us, we should also make sure that we are gifting our time to those things that are of value and of substance. So I do live by a calendar because that's saying it's important to me. And if I value you, you will have to send me a calendar invite, because that's a moment of my time that I'm carving out for you. So I do think that it's very important for us to live by that. I'm struggling with some parts of aging. I think Jennifer Lewis does it best when she talk about the summers, of how many summers that the average person has. But she says something that's so powerful about it. Like, I can't afford to waste my seasons on things that are not going to be some type of return. So I think living by time forces you to really be more intentional about what it is that we have. And I think that's where we're getting in. I've invested so much of my time to so many things that didn't give me a return. And we have to be selfishly courageous to preserve ourselves, but also to find the true meaning of life. Life is a selfish pursuit. As much as people try to say it's all that, no, this is my path. And you guys are journeymen with me, but you guys have individual journeys that you must travel. And I'm the only main character in this part of time, and I'm a supporting actor in you guys' life. And I think that we just have to be selfish a little bit with our time, and we have to make sure that we're squeezing all of the goodness out of it as much as humanly possible, if we want to look back at that time that we've had and say that not only will the Heavenly Father say, well done, you want to also have that final reflective state and say, yeah, I did that. I lived a dope life.
Love it, man. I'll say really quickly, and I think that was a great place to end. But I have to make mention of what you said about the importance of time and how valuable it is. I was fortunate enough to spend about a 3-hour lunch with a really good friend yesterday, and it flew by. But how luxurious is it, and how grateful I am for that to be the case. So when you make my calendar, as you said, Jay, when you on my calendar, business or just personal or just having a good time, yeah, that's a valuable space to occupy, and I appreciate it. Much like I appreciate every Thursday with you guys. Thanks for being here tonight. I want to let you guys know, if you're coming back next week, I had this thought of this being a bit thematic, ideas about introspection. So that's the thought to be thinking this week if you're going to come back next week. And I know a couple of you will. So be thinking about introspective. And it'll be a different title, but it's the same realm of conversation. It's a little bit thematic, these 2 episodes. So I look forward to some follow-up from you guys next week, hopefully. And again, I'm just grateful to share this space with you. Y'all have a wonderful night. Take care. Stay cool, because it's getting hot.